Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Brother Retrospective podcast. Here to talk about Big Brother 13 this week, having just come away from our talk on Big Brother 12 last week. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is a very special guest. It's Jacob Jones. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing phenomenal. I mean, Taran, I haven't seen you in a minute. I haven't talked to you in a minute. I haven't really podcasted in a minute. And so I'm excited to be here to talk about one of my personal favorite seasons of Big Brother.
Yes, okay. Big Brother 13, a year after Big Brother 12. We have our first really we had Big Brother 11 as, Jesse as a solo vet came back. And then you had All Stars where it was all vets. This is the first real mixed season of the show. And it stars one of the stars of Big Brother 12. And before we get too deep into Big Brother 13, Jacob Jones, I have polled the audience. And I asked them who should be on the poster for Big Brother 12, last week's season. Okay. They have now responded. Now, Brittany was on that podcast, and she said, "Don't vote for me, vote for Kathy."
Oh, please.
So, Jacob Jones, who do you think the audience voted for? Top 3 people for the Big Brother 12 poster.
Top 3 people for Big Brother 12. I have to say the faces of Big Brother 12. And for one, I have to say Hayden. He won the season, for goodness sake, so I have to include him. I then have to say Rachel. Mm-hmm. Even though season 13 is right around the corner, she was a star. And then I have to say Brittany. Those are the 3 faces of Big Brother 12 to me.
Jacob Jones, there's a reason you're known as the finger of the people.
Oh my goodness. Guys, I didn't even know a poster was coming up. That's how crazy this is.
Despite her protests, Brittany was voted for the top spot on the Big Brother 12 poster, followed by Rachel in the number 2 spot and Hayden rounding out the 3rd spot. Matt just missed out, got beat out by Hayden. I guess what's new for Matt Hoffman. Poor Matt Hoffman,
to be honest, 12. And I ranked them pretty accurately too. Well, it depends on which way you want it to go.
You went in reverse order, but yeah.
Yeah, I went in reverse order, but it still gives the optics. I got Rachel right. I got Rachel right of anything. But no, this is exciting, and damn, this is a nice poster. I like this, dude. Yes. I mean, I feel like since I'm on this pod, I should get gifted this poster. To be honest.
Well, listen, Brittany did have some requests. So, if anyone wants to add Kathy in there somewhere, feel free. I'm sure there's different methods you could use. But that is the Big Brother 12 poster. So we will now be talking about a year later, 2011. I have now officially gone off to college, 2011. And I am about to watch Big Brother 13 in the summer in between my freshman and sophomore year of college. So it was a very different experience, I would say, watching this season. It was the first time I was watching it emancipated, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And you were in college, so you always kind of disconnect from shows when you're in college.
Yeah, and that was part of the thing, is that there was definitely the chance that I wouldn't come back to Big Brother. I'd almost left it after Big Brother 9. And Big Brother 13 wasn't exactly calling my name. I wasn't the biggest Jeff and Jordan fan. At the time, I wasn't the biggest Rachel and Brendan fan. And I was never the biggest Evil Dick fan. So the fact that it was these people coming back, I was kind of I don't know if this is really the season for me. The theme was weird. The twist was weird, Jacob. They were playing in pairs. And that really just brought me right back to my least favorite season at the time, season 9, which was oh, I don't like this.
Taran, my origin story with Big Brother 13, it does have to go back to Big Brother 12 because, and I think I told this story on a podcast before. When Big Brother 13 came, if you kind of get it. But when Big Brother 13,
there was a lot of that.
I know it was the crusty mattresses and the sheets. But when Big Brother 13 came, I think 14. Taran, I was 14 years old. And I was thinking, because the first season that I ever watched on television of Big Brother was Big Brother 12. And I remember because at this point, I was in 8th grade. Big Brother 12. And Big Brother 13, I was a freshman in high school. But the gag is, Taran, I remember waking up on my grandmother's couch when Brittany Haynes won her first HOH in Big Brother 12. She had a plaid, I think it was blue and white stripes, curly hair. She won HOH. And I remember waking up, because I would go to her house after school, waking up and seeing that. And I was like, oh my God, what is this show? And then after that, I continued to watch that season play out. I then went on YouTube, typed in Corky Dude for all the Big Brother people out there who may know. I typed in Corky Dude, and that, like, leading up to Big Brother 13, I did like a plunge into the Big Brother waters, and I like rewatched I was addicted. And then Big Brother 13 was the first season that I got to fully immerse myself in, when like it's live, and After Dark was a thing. I didn't get live because I was just on After Dark, and I don't even know why I had access. My mom is how I had access to After Dark, because whatever cable system we were a part of, we had Showtime or whatever it was on. And I fell in love with it. And before going into season 13, I was iffy about Brandon and Rachel, even though I was like keeping up with the YouTube post-show interviews when they went to Vegas. I was like, Taran, I was immersed into this. And then, to be honest, I know you wasn't a big Gijo, I don't forget how they say it, fan. I loved Jeff and Jordan. I even watched when they went from Chicago to Santa Monica. And then Dick and Danielle, I was like, oh my God, come on, Taran. I was in heaven when Big Brother 13 came. I was in heaven. And it's still one of my top 3-4 seasons of all time, to be honest.
Yeah. I will say, I think like of the pairings, I think Jeff and Jordan were my favorite at the time of the three. But like over the course of season 13, even before the Dumbledore ran, I was starting to sour on them.
Yeah.
And then things got worse.
Yeah. But not with the network. That was when let's put Jeff everywhere. Let's give him web series shows, post-show interviews, backyard interviews, preseason interviews, everything. Let's give it to him.
Jake, we were telling Brittany last week about Quirky Dude, because she was talking about how we have these DVD covers that we're making, but they didn't actually get DVDs. Only the final 3 got the DVDs for their own season.
Such a shame.
So in order for her to watch her own season, she had to borrow a binder of DVDs from Enzo. And I was like, you could have had all of Dude.
You could have, and you know what? Quirky Dude doesn't even exist anymore. Yeah. And Quirky Dude used to have also live feeds of old seasons as well. Like season 10, that's how I saw all the live feeds of all the screaming. Horrible quality, horrible quality. But I was still like, oh my God, give me more of this. I need more of this. I was like, Big Taran, this is like Christmas to me today.
Here's a fun fact that probably nobody will care about, but one of my first major like rewatches of Big Brother was watching Quirky Dude while playing Half-Life 2. And to this day,
that's crazy.
Thinking about some of those older seasons, like brings me flashes of Half-Life 2. Like they're inexorably linked in my mind.
Taran, I don't even know what game you're talking about, but I'm just like thinking of it, and like you have to add some color to it for me.
They still haven't made a Half-Life 3.
It was of the times that it was in.
Classic first-person shooter that they promised a third one, never came. All right, so Big Brother 13 comes in the summer of 2011, and here was the cast. It was a mixed cast. Again, there were 3 dynamic duos returning to the game. The first of which was Evil Dick and Danielle. Do we have I think we just have the cast list there. We have Evil Dick and Danielle. coming from season 8. Dick, of course, the winner. Danielle, the runner-up. You had Jeff and Jordan coming from season 11. Jordan, the winner. Jeff, I think, was what, 6th place?
Yeah.
And then you had Rachel and Brendan coming hot off of season 12 just a year before. Recently engaged now. And they, they had the lowest sort of threat on them because they didn't win. But they were the best competitors. Theoretically, the best competitors. Danielle actually had a great reputation for competitions at this point as well. But they come in with probably the lowest threat level. And they're coming in again as the dynamic duos was kind of the way that they described them. And because there were dynamic duos coming in, the other players had to pair up into their own duos. And this, again, I was just immediately put off. I don't like playing as duos. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. I think it's not very fun to watch. But very quickly we saw the house guests pair off, and it's honestly not super relevant to list them all right now before we get into the whole cast. But basically they have to pair off, and then you get nominated as a duo. One of you ends up getting voted out between the two of you, and the one that doesn't get voted out gets the golden key. I think it was.
It was a necklace. It was like a bead. Yeah, it was like a key.
Some sort of like, I mean, symbolic sort of thing where now you cannot be nominated or evicted until basically they get rid of the duos twist at the final like 10.
It was the final 10.
You have like a few rounds of safety when you survive a vote, which is an interesting take on the first few evictions, where, if you are a person that goes up on the block early, you usually end up continuing to go up on the block a lot of the time. Couldn't really happen in this season. It wasn't super relevant, but it's that was sort of one of the main twists here.
And I know you weren't a big fan of the duos. And again, this was my first season coming into the world of live watching Big Brother. So anything they gave me, I was like, please. And to me, I liked the idea. And them picking the duos was like, I remember Keith at the time, who was like a preacher's kid, being like a horny man, and hey, Portia, come here. And then Cassie and Shelly, and then Dominic, who I thought was like, I love Dominic during this time. Mm-hmm. Dominic is the one where Danielle is, yes, that's Dominic. And also the dynamic duos, I thought they were perfect representation of the Big Brother, like, following Pat, like, by All Stars, and like meshed in between that. I think those are perfect. I think that was like, these All Stars, I mean, these dynamic duos were perfect. The only other one that I would have loved to see, or two that I would have loved to see, were Keisha and Rennie. I think that could have been an interesting pair, but I don't know how well they would have fit into this dynamic of this cast. And also Jesse and Lydia. Or just something silly.
This is now like vague. I remember at the time there were rumors that Dan and Memphis were in the mix as a duo. I don't know how real that was, if that was just like chatter at the time that never was real, but I remember hearing it at the back then.
Now, Taran, can you tell me this? How prevalent was BB Twitter when Big Brother 13 was on?
BB Twitter. I wasn't on Twitter yet.
I don't think so. I was either.
I don't think Big Brother Twitter became like a significant presence until 14 leading into 15, I would say, from my experience of it. Like social media was really starting to be on the come up here. And in fact, I remember Adam being very present on social media in season 14. And then obviously we'll talk about season 15 was like the social media season, basically. Well, that one heading into, you could say season 16 is too, but season 15 is better representation of the social media impact on the show.
I want to know who y'all gonna have on to talk about that. Dumpster
Season
fire.
15?
Yes.
I don't think I need to hide it. I believe scheduled to talk about Big Brother 15, Chappelle.
Oh, okay. We need some lightheartedness and some jokes and some keys in that mix.
I could be wrong. I think he requested it.
Yeah, okay. It sounds accurate. That sounds accurate. He wants to put some people in check. And Taran, can I tell you something? And bring this up I'm not saying I'm proud of this. But again, when Big Brother 13 aired, I was 14-year-old teeny bopper. Teeny bopper. When Big Brother 15 aired, I was 15. Also, every time that Big Brother aged, like Big Brother is about to be on season 28, I'm 28. I always thought that was some cosmic alignment and be like, oh, I should get on season 21. But I am blocked. And I don't say this because people on Twitter can be egregious. And I say this as a reformed, egregious Twitterer. I was a high schooler not knowing anything. I'm blocked by people on Big Brother 15. But I would say the people that blocked me, I'm okay with. So.
Yeah. I think there's definitely some people on that cast that
one has a green Mustang or used to. I don't know.
Okay, so Big Brother 13, I will say I was pretty skeptical, but like you actually, I quickly really just liked Dominic. I thought he was so fun and cool. And I also really liked Cassie. It was Dominic and Cassie that I was like, all right, these two seem really chill. I'll watch the season to see how they do. And then they were second and third.
Taran, it went like bam, 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 because they were the flagpole leaders of the new school kids that were coming into this game. And Dominic had some ways of going in. His connections to Danielle got him torn away. Cassie, I just think a lot of pettiness was involved in her demise. And she, to be honest, I don't think she was the best at the game of maneuvering that situation. But I do remember that they used to call Dominic PT at different times. I don't know if this was just on the live feeds or after dark or in the house, because he was a part-time model that still lived at home with his mom at the time. And they called him PT, which I thought was so cute. But I had a fan fiction moment where him and Cassie were like together when this season was airing.
Yeah. I mean, they're just like, they're both like really attractive people, I feel like. And so you had them, and then of course, who could forget Keith? And you had one of these situations where like there was this resistance that was that they tried to mount, and it was primarily Keith and Cassie and Dominic, and it's a varying degrees of success, all of which was basically no success. But that was sort of the story of the first few weeks of the game, was like, okay, this is going to be newbies. And this is really, I believe, when the term newbies was first introduced to Big Brother. And in my memory, it is primarily Rachel who is using the term. The newbies versus the vets. And very, very quickly, Keith, Cassie, Dominic, it becomes clear this is not what the season is about. This is a season about the vets.
Basically, unless you get an alignment in lock and key with the vets, and you have your partner and they love you, you are going home. And I remember the eviction. I don't just remember. I did a rewatch. Someone on YouTube did like cut the season 13 in 2 hours and 53 minutes, and I just regurgitated it all to my mind. And the first moment that it happened was at the Keith and Portia eviction, where Keith was the first person voted off, and Rachel went into the have-not room where Cassie, Dominic, and I think Shelly was at. And Rachel, as we know how Rachel was in season 12 and in season 13, beginning, middle, I wouldn't say so much at the end, but if people want to do it, they can. She came in the room saying, "Why are you guys upset?" They were saying, well, because, Keith went home. Our side didn't vote to keep him. She said, oh, are there sides now? Are there sides? Well, some people like Portia and then just left the room. And so like, yeah.
Yes. So the first week is a little strange, but it definitely sets up sort of the rest of the at least first half or so of the season. Rachel wins the first HOH, one of course many, and she basically targets Keith. Keith was one of the figureheads of the newbie resistance, and Portia, on the other hand, was like basically the opposite of that. Portia was like the most willing person to work with the vets. And so they were the perfect duo, Keith and Portia together, to put on the block, because that meant that they could vote Keith out, and then Portia would be locked in safe until like the final 10. And so in addition to that, they could then like explain to Portia, the reason we're nominating you is so that we can vote Keith out and then you'll get safety. Like, isn't that fantastic for you? And they were like, we can also basically guarantee your safety here because we basically have the votes locked in, with you know how the numbers are playing out.
And
However, go ahead.
Oh, wait, go no, finish it. Finish, Taran.
No, I'm about to transition to like the next
Oh,
stage.
okay. So. I was gonna say, to give Dick some credit, Dick was the first person to buy into and really like hard drive Portia coming into the vet side. And before he left, and that was before the first eviction, he was like, hey, this is the plan for us vets. We need to get a person from each duo and make sure they're safe. And then we're just gonna tick them off like that, because obviously Adam is fangirling for Dick Donato, and we have Portia, who is a beautiful girl, VIP cocktail waitress from I think Miami or Vegas, and her and Janelle knew each other. I think they were VIP cocktail waitresses at the same time or at similar times, and so even her and Rachel were close during that time. So she had a much more organic buy-in, but she was also like just wanted, oh, I'm safe and y'all have power and y'all are like what y'all are. Oh, let me buy into it and let me be over here. So it worked out. They had sellouts. The newbies had sellouts. They only had 3 core members: Keith, Cassie, Dominic. The rest flip flop first.
Yeah. And this is sort of I think how the game is remembered often is that like people say, man, in the short time that Dick was there, he really set up the veterans for success, which I don't think is necessarily inaccurate, but probably at this point exaggerated in the sense that like at the time, the fact that the veterans dominated felt like, oh, wow, they had such targets on them. I can't believe they managed to succeed in the face of those odds. Looking at it now, that's pretty much what happens always when veterans face new players. And so maybe not quite the impressive sort of like idea as it was before, but Dick is definitely the person who, you know, was the most vocal about, hey, everyone, the vets should be sticking together. We should be pulling in a couple of numbers, and then we can basically just dominate from there. And that was all set to be in place and to function, except pretty quickly, just a few days into the game, Evil Dick is leaves the game under mysterious circumstances. I believe we have since discovered that there was like a medical issue, but basically he is removed from the game, and just like that, the vets are down a number. And that also means that they don't even like, now this vote with Keith and Portia is a little tricky as well. And so this was definitely sort of like a make or break moment for the veterans. But again, like knowing what we know now, it's pretty much always going to go this way. It's really hard for new players to completely band together in the face of experienced veterans and competitors. So despite the fact that Evil Dick left early, the vets were able to pull a couple of extra votes in Kalia and Shelly, and just like that, they were able to take Keith out of the game.
And to take Keith out of the game, and also, Taran, to even strengthen your point, on why the vets had the outcome as we now know especially at the beginning of the game, how they were running it. They also had a lot of power. They won the first 2 competitions. They had a lot of, and also I know that people glimmer and they want people that are experienced at this game, but also they knew, oh my God, these people that I just watched on television, I want to be their friends. I want to get in with the cool squad around this house. And I do want to say something, that a moment for me in season 13 that really shaped it for the vets and bringing solidarity between them after Dick left, even though we know that was shortly lived, was when Dick left. Danielle was like, oh my God, what's happening? They were all in the HOH room bitching and just like, oh my gosh, they should just send us home. We're all going to be evicted. And as much as I don't want to give him credit, I'm gonna give Jeff Schroeder some credit, because I think the speech that he gave the vets at this moment, he was like, yo, we need to knock up. Like, it's us. Like, yo, we've been here before. We know how to play the game. What are we talking about? Why are we sitting here complaining, crying, saying, oh, they're going to take us out, when all we need to go and do is win, 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 win. And we can do that. We have the top 2 best female competitors in Big Brother history right here. Brendan, not too shabby. Jeff, not too shabby. Jordan, but we have a stacked resume to compete where we need to compete. The ladies are here, the men are here, everyone is here. Why are we shaking in our boots compared to people who are on the block and don't know how to play this game? And I think it was very visual that these newbies really didn't know how to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Keith is known for, I think the biggest thing he's known for is, I would say, like, his affiliation with the Regulators, which we'll talk about in just a second, but also Keith's Angels.
Oh gosh.
Keith, I think to some degree unfairly really got ragged on here, for, Keith's Angels was definitely cringy. But like the Regulators in general. So the Regulators was the alliance that was Keith, Dominic, Cassie, and it was really like all of the new players, but like Dominic was like the real like creator of the alliance. It was him and Cassie and Keith were like the core of it. Lawan was involved, Adam and was involved and stuff. But the Regulators, I think, are often quoted as like one of the worst alliances ever, because Keith, Cassie, Dominic leave 1, 2, 3. But I don't think that's super fair to them. Yeah. Because quite frankly, the Regulators were like better players than most newbie players against vets, in the sense that they really did take a stance and came close to being able to overturn the veterans in week 1. That's something that most new players don't do. Obviously, Jose is going to be a sort of the modern day Keith in a few years when he tries to go against the vets in season 18. But like genuinely, like, those players, they burn out quickly, but they have the right idea. And at least the Regulators had some numbers, some actual numbers behind them, and really actually came only, a couple of votes away from having the power that they needed in the first week. But they just got outcompeted. Jordan, Rachel, 1, 2, 3, just won those HOHs. What can you do?
And to add to Keith's support, I guess, or to be one of his angels in this moment, another reason why I think he got targeted so fast is because Portia was so easy to get on the vet side. So It was like, let's just give our homegirl this safety. Let's kick out her duo and let's move to the next. Like, Portia was like it to me, it only took one conversation for Portia to be on their side. Oh, we got Portia. All right, let's kick off the other one. So, what could he have done in that round? Because honestly, Keith didn't really do anything that we've seen a first do to get put out. Like, he was kind of just like in the house. Yeah, he wasn't on their side, but he was just chilling.
He tried, which is, I think, a lot more than you can say for like a lot of first boots. I'll be a little bit of a Keith defender here.
You're Keith Angel, Taran. That's what we call it.
we're Keith's Angels right here, 1 and 2. So of course, as we talked about, Jordan wins the next HOH. They're going straight at Dominic here as the next target in the regulators. But it's Cassie that takes the hit, and that's because Dominic ends up winning that veto, taking himself and Adam off the block. And the replacement is going to be Cassie and Shelly. And Cassie takes the hit here, and oh boy, I was heartbroken.
Oh, Taran, I was, because for one, we had a strong woman who was really willing and able to give it back to the vets, like the rest of the people on the other side weren't. But also, she was being targeted by Danielle. She was being targeted by especially Rachel and Brendan, specifically Rachel. And at this time, even when Dominic got put up, he started to get real cozy with Danielle. And they were hanging out a lot in this time. And so the flirt mess has started. Now we know babies, marriage, are in full effect now. But that's when that was also starting to become a head. And then her and Rachel butted heads like numerous times. And so it just didn't help her. And then also another duo willing to hop ship as Shelly is Jeff and Jordan. That's how it happened. And so another one, there we go.
Yep. All of these duos just happened to split in such a distinct way where like one of them went and sided with the vets and the other one was trying to rebel, which was quite unfortunate for them in the way that those duos panned out. Shelly at the very least was like doing it more out of self-preservation, I would say, than like strategic self-preservation rather than just like actual obsequence. But like, you know, what are you going to do? Cassie goes out here. As you mentioned, she does have quite a few tiffs with Rachel. They really did not like each other.
I mean, Kathy blatantly said, you're like, and I'm summarizing, you are an insecure woman and you're petty and you're picking on me just because of... And like literally leaving the have not room. And like she said, Rachel, can I talk to you, sis, for 1 second? Because guess what? The HOH Jordan liked Cassie. Jeff liked Cassie. They liked Shelly. And the reason, like, it just, I don't think they wanted to put her up in that way, but it happened. And Cassie's drama with Rachel and Rachel's drama with Cassie didn't help her at all. And also, as much as I wanted fan fiction to be right and for Dominic and Cassie to be, it was then Dominic and Danielle. So
I did. There was definitely, like, I don't think your fan fiction was like totally off because I remember like they were friends, Cassie and Dominic.
They were.
There were definitely a lot of shippers for them at the time. But he ends up hanging out with Danielle a bunch instead, and Dominic and Danielle really start to have a bit of a Romeo and Juliet situation. Him, the head of the resistance, her part of the establishment, but they're hitting it off, and this is probably like one of the showmances I like rooted for the most, like in the history of the show. Because I was such a fan of Dominic, and the fact that like Danielle was like starting to turn on the vets, and I was like pretty firmly against the vets at this point. I was all in on the newbies, and so the fact that Danielle was coming over, the power of love compelled her to betray her vets. I was just like, what a cool couple. They're both so chill. And I'd never been the biggest Danielle fan from her season, but like I was really like coming around on her. And I think that was kind of the perspective of the fan base as well, as she quickly becomes a fan favorite in this season, you know, with the showmans with Dominic, with rebelling against the vets, which even I think the audience at the time was feeling pretty compelled by. You know, there's a budding storyline here that gets cut off very abruptly when Rachel wins the third week HOH, and this time Brendan wins the veto, and there's nothing Dominic can do. He is voted out over Adam.
And this week shook the game in a very drastic way, because we saw Danielle trying to save her possible lover. And at the time, like, this is a showmance that was in its early stages. They didn't even kiss. Like, they didn't even really talk. They were just friends that flirted, that I don't even think got the words out of "I like you," or it was not, I don't think, confirmed in that romantic of a way. But I at that time I was fiending for it. It was hot. It was like, oh my gosh, Danielle, what are you doing? Danielle's leaving her castle to go, in the Big Brother world, to go, down and be friends with the people on the ground, just because she likes this guy. And Dominic was willing to be a soldier for Danielle, and Danielle wanted to do everything in her power to possibly save Dominic. And that was to honestly put the two couples, Brendan and Rachel, against each other at that time. And, Dominic leaves and everything is aired out at that time, though. But Taran, before Dominic is evicted, one of the best drama-filled moments in Big Brother history, in my opinion, happened. It was so many people involved, from Kalia to Brendan to Jeff to Jordan bringing everyone in the kitchen, to Dominic, to who else? Danielle. Like, Kalia went outside to make sure, hey, Brendan, are we good? Brendan and her got snappy with each other. She runs inside, starts screaming at him. Jordan's like, all right, let's talk about this, because y'all want my man to be evicted in the Big Brother house. Absolutely no. We can't be friends if you know about a plan to backdoor me and you ain't let me know. Everything comes to a head. Every plan is out there. Rachel and Danielle, that's when that feud reaches to a head. And it wasn't even sparking. It just, like, at that moment, everything came out. Boom. The imploding of the Veteran Alliance took place right there. And I loved every moment of it. It was so from Danielle calling Rachel, you're an idiot. First off, you're an idiot. And then for, like, Danielle being silent all the time when Jeff is talking to Dominic and talking to Kalia, and Kalia's like, what do you want me to say? She's my friend. And I'm like, oh, like, it had to be honest, season 13, the drama that season 13 had, the highs and lows of season 13, it makes my heart warm.
I mean, there's definitely like overtures of, like, classical storytelling and how it goes, like, with, like, the forbidden romance leading to, like, the tragic doomed to fail rebellion. And then it all kind of comes to a head, as you're talking about. Like, it's the fallout of it. Danielle, like, just basically says, like, screw you guys. I'm out. And it becomes all out war again. There's a new rebellion headed by the former ally Danielle, and she's got some allies of her own now. She's working with Kalia. She's got Luan on her side, and we'll talk about it. So all of that to say, she then wins the next HOH
in a beautiful fashion. And Taran, Danielle taught me something. And I haven't had ambitions to go on Big Brother in a long time, but who knows? But my strategy for going on Big Brother used to be, Danielle taught me a very valuable lesson. At the beginning of the game, she was kind of forced to work with people. And then after being in the house for a minute, she genuinely got along with people. And that kind of filtered her alliance members to who it boiled down to. And that really, like, settled in my mind of, like, yo, really kind of get to know these people. And it's because it's easier to work with people that you genuinely get along with rather than just being forced. And I just, like, don't F with Rachel, and I don't F with Brendan, and I don't mess with Jeff or Jordan. What am I doing working with these people? And so I think that, like, she just started to hang. She started to get to know these people, and she wanted to play with these people. She didn't want these people to go. And so this was when the light switch for Danielle was, like, off, because, again, her duo was out of the house. So she doesn't have anyone. So she wanted someone, and she thought she had that in Dominic. And then when Dominic left, she had that in Kalia. But this HOH win, when they were on the swing podium and she jumped down, and she's still in the game, folks. Or wait, was that the other time? Maybe that was the other time when Brendan came back. I'm getting confused which HOH wins her reaction was.
She has 2 wins.
She has 2 wins. Yeah. And one was when another future Ray. But yeah, this was I feel
like it was the wall that she won first.
It was the snow, right? Where she was like, they had to hobble, and it was her and Khalid. I think that was it. I want to say, and then her thing was like, and she's back in the game, folks. And I thought, Taran, and I remember that moment so vividly because I was like, oh my God, queen, icon. Like, she is saying, I don't care. Even though it's me and my homegirl here, because Portia at the time was still a lapdog to the veterans, perceivably so. So it was literally her and Kalia. And imagine the whole house turning on you. And it's just you and your two allies, the last two competitors, standing on this endurance competition. Oh, Taran, you can't tell me a damn thing. Danielle Donato ate that up. Ate it up.
And the audience loved it. They were super into this, which is super interesting too, because like this was definitely, the audience, I think at this point had been fairly fractured. I think in the early days it was pretty like pretty concentrated in one direction, but like there were diehard Jeff and Jordan fans who were now becoming big fans of Rachel and Brendan. And Rachel and Brendan had their own fans, but like the Rachel and Brendan fans pre-BB13, I would say, were like the messy reality TV fans, like the people that loved mess. And the Jeff and Jordan fans were like like your grandmother, your casual viewer at home who's like, oh, I love. And so those two like didn't really mix a ton, I would say. But when these two end up coming together, the fandoms kind of like meshed together. And there was a theory at the time that was like, well, Brendan and Rachel have now become fan favorites via their connection to Jeff and Jordan. And I don't think that's necessarily entirely true, but it definitely helped that there were these two massive character couples that came together. It was sort of like a super group of the reality fandom backing them. But this was going in the face of how Big Brother normally works in the fan base, where you root for the underdogs because they were very much not the underdogs at the time. And so you had, Danielle, who was becoming a massive fan favorite, but with a different portion of the fan base. It was like, our underdog queen, look at her go, look at her be Janelle. And so there was a lot of like confusion, I would say, in terms of like where the fan base really was. But ultimately, the casuals were still pretty firmly on the side of Jeff Jordan and therefore Rachel and Brendan. And so it wasn't like a war necessarily in the fandom from my memory, but like it definitely was conflicting interests, which was interesting.
Taran, and I know you were on the side of the underdog, and if I'm being completely honest, I was on the side of Jeff and Jordan and Brendan and Rachel. And when Danielle did it, even though I thought this is like so amazing, I was still like, please don't touch any of my four. Like, please don't touch them. And I know she isn't. So at that moment, I was like, damn it. But it was so this season, Big Brother was like this. You can never count anyone out. Especially Danielle, who just got the house imploded on her. Her closest ally and her who are on the bottom win a competition. And that happens again in future in this season as well. And so I love the moment. I give respect for the moment, even though I was like not on that side at that time. I loved it for television.
And so Danielle wins and she puts Brendan and Rachel straight up on the block. And one of them is going to go home. And Brendan wins the veto. But he's not going to use it on himself. He's going to use it on Rachel. Ultimately, good bet to make, given the results.
Awesome payoff. Awesome payoff.
He removes Rachel from the block, leaving himself up there. Danielle is going to replace Rachel with Jordan as the pawn next to Brendan. Funny how that works when you nominate a pawn that from the other side next to your target, then your target goes and you don't end up evicting an ally. That becomes relevant soon. And Brendan is evicted. That is it for Brendan. in Big Brother 13 for now.
And Taran, to be honest, I was sad. And as you just hear me spill my guts, I was sad in this moment. And as Danielle was making moves to put Brendan and Rachel up, she was also trying to rectify the relationship that Jeff and Jordan had with her, and being like, "Hey guys, I kind of want to work something out. Jeff, if I don't put you up, and let's say Brendan does come down, I won't, like, I think she was saying something to the effect of, if Brendan comes down and Rachel's still on the block, I will just like, I don't know if I will touch either of you. But if Brendan does stay on the block, Jordan, I just think it's your safest bet. And I wouldn't want to put y'all up against Rachel because so many things can happen." And so this was her also trying to rebuild that relationship. But somebody had to get cut, and it was Brendan at the time.
It can't really be understated at this point. Like, Jeff and Jordan are powerhouses in this season. Like, you know, Rachel and Brendan are kind of like the muscle, I would say, to the overlord Jeff and Jordan, and everyone's sort of operating that way. Where, like, you know, it's like, oh well, you know, nobody has as good a relationship with Brendan and Rachel as they do Jeff and Jordan, so we're all going to try to appease Jeff and Jordan while targeting Brendan and Rachel to get rid of their muscle. And so that really was benefiting Jeff and Jordan for a while, until it didn't. But at this point, it was working really well for them, and it's going to work even more well for them in the following week. So yes, there's this attempt to appease Jeff and Jordan, and that is partially why they are targeting Brendan and Rachel here. Rachel at this point, you know, has won 2 HOHs. Brendan has now won his third veto, kind of, at this point. So they're both pretty good competitors, but Brendan's going to save Rachel and get evicted himself here, which I think is another part of where, like, because you can talk about Jeff and Jordan being a catalyst for the popularity of Brendan and Rachel, but Brendan using the veto on Rachel is a huge swing in that direction. I mean, this is, while, you know, theoretically you might say, like, oh, you know, what a dummy, like, don't Marcellus yourself. I think most of the fan base, at least that segment of the fan base, was like, oh, look, Brendan using it on Rachel, he's sacrificing himself, oh my god. And that was big, and it certainly will matter with how it plays out.
I mean, also in season 12, and correct me if I'm wrong because it's more fresh on your memory, did he use the veto on her in season 12 as well?
That's a good question. I don't remember that happening in that season.
I thought closer, maybe not, or maybe I just want to believe it. But this was a very sweet thing. And also I think people I mean, when you move in with your fiance to a game, like, yo, I'm gonna do the noble thing and win. Who has the better shot of winning? At the time, Brendan probably thought everyone's gonna be targeting me because I'm a man, because I'm a physical threat, and because at some capacities I'm better at socializing than Rachel is. But you know, Danielle wanted to get her big guy out the house, and she did that. So
in season 12, they were on the block together in the first week, and he used the veto on himself.
He's okay. Oh, that was the first week. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
So Brendan is evicted, and but that does not mean that the trouble is over for Danielle and Kalia, because, you know, Rachel is still in the house. She's still competing. Jeff and Jordan are still in a lot of power. They have their connections to Portia and Shelly and Adam, and so, like, it's still looking like it's them against the world. And wouldn't you know it, Kalia pulls off a win.
What was your thought process of Kalia, though? I want to know what did you? Because to be honest, I think, especially looking back, I want to see Kalia play again. I don't think she was a bad player. I think she was, honestly, even though she made a huge flubber of a move, and we're about to talk about it, I think she was solid.
I mean, I really liked her. She was like, at this point, it was like, this was all I had left. I had Danielle and Kalia, and they were my gals at this point. I was like, let's go. But this is the week the season lost me.
Yeah, Taran, please. I needed you to come back. I needed you to come back.
Kalia wins, and this is so huge, and this is like the producer's nightmare, right? Like their big stars are getting demolished week after week at this, like 1 week after another. She nominates Jeff and Rachel. One of them is gonna go home until Jeff wins the veto. Mm-hmm. And now a decision has to be made. And this is where things get really complicated. And this is basically the coup d'etat week from Big Brother Love. This is where everything falls apart.
Yeah, this is where everything falls apart. And also, Taran, I want to note this. Khalid, also, I want to note this because I see a comment in the comments. They played a game on the live piece called Big Booty, where they went around and was like, big booty, big booty, big booty. Oh yeah, big booty. That. And I just think that's so funny. But Kalia at the time, she had more so at the beginning of the season, she had a great relationship with Jeff and Jordan. Jordan picked her for a luxury competition win to go upstairs, even pissing off Rachel. They had a really good relationship. It's when she got closer to Danielle is when everything started to rip. But seemingly so, her and Jordan still maintained some sort of something. And so in the week that she put up Jeff and Rachel, she was still trying to work with Jeff. Even though Jeff told her, hey, you put me up, I come down, I'm coming for you. That's a risk you're willing to take, do it. And we saw that was a risk she was willing to take.
Yeah. So a couple of things happen here. Number one, Kalia is HOH. Jeff has the veto. Jeff is trying to negotiate to keep Jordan off the block. And again, there's this idea of like, trying to appease this showmance, this duo, so that they don't come straight out back after you, because what happens if you don't win the next HOH? So the idea is like, oh, well, okay, maybe if we spare Jordan here and we don't put Jordan up, then maybe Jeff and Jordan won't come after us next week. And we can still get Rachel out. Is kind of part of the thought process here. It's a very dangerous proposition, but because they don't really have numbers. But there's another factor that comes into play here, which is that they are given a cryptic message by Julie about how, like, I don't remember the wording of it, but like, not everything is as it seems. Like, there's something coming for the person that gets evicted. This is how they interpret it. And I probably should have looked to see what the exact wording was, but
I think that the person getting evicted may have a chance of coming back. I think that was in the scope of where it was going.
Let's see. Because it was something to do with the person getting evicted, and it created this idea in Lawan's mind that very famously he thought he was going to have superpowers.
Yeah.
That if he went up on the block and got himself evicted, that he would come back into the game with superpowers. And
it sounds as bad, like it sounds as stupid as I thought when I watched the moment, as you retelling me what happened right now.
So basically they had Jeff, Jordan, and Rachel on the ropes. But because of this, like this cryptic message about like what might happen, they thought they were going to get ahead of the twist. And remember, like at this time, Jeff and Jordan had very recently just won season 11 because of a scenario very similar to this, where they gave the house guests a cryptic message, and then Shima's HOH reign gets overturned and the entire game flips around. And so, there's kind of this idea that like, oh yeah, this could work, right? Like this might be okay. And so he volunteers and they go along with the plan that like, okay, this is, in their minds, like this makes some sense because we'll appease Jeff and Jordan. We'll put up Luan, who's willing to go up on the block. And we can still, I don't think the idea to like evict Luan was immediate. But at the very least, they can have him on the block, and then eventually they come around to this idea of evicting Luan at his request, which just never should have happened. This was a terrible idea.
Never should have happened, was so stupid. But even after, I remember Luan leaving the room, Danielle and Kalia looked at each other and was like, we'll make Jeff and Jordan happy. And if Luan does seemingly go home, okay. But I'm like, this is like a trusted ally with you girls. Like, Kalia, this is your duo. The only duo to make it past, well, no, of the newbies to make it past like the separation. Like, this is your guy. Danielle, this is your guy. And y'all are okay with losing him just to appease. And I'm like, yo, Danielle, why are y'all playing into this game of Luan being like, I'm about to have a nuclear weapon to come back in here and like, no, like someone needs to turn it on. Taran, I wanted to say turn it on. Someone needed to turn their brain on. It was 3 people, 3 smart people, 2 smart people. Something needed to click.
Now, I remember at the time there were like some conspiracy theories that people were like, production got in his head and convinced him that this was a good idea. And that like that makes some sense. We also have to talk about Shelly because Shelly at this point has been playing a very kind of like under the radar game, but a very sneaky one. She's been trying to like play up her relationship with Danielle and Kalia, while at the same time working very closely with Jeff and Jordan. And she was like a big Jeff and Jordan fan, and she's playing up her fandom of them and wanting to keep them safe while also maintaining her relationship with the new players. And so she at this time is also in Kalia's ear saying things like, hey, you should appease Jeff and Jordan. You shouldn't even take out Rachel. I think that she was, hoping to take out Portia at one point. And then it eventually landed on Luan instead because he was willing. And so Shelly is, I believe, I remember like seeing comparisons to like Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. I think was a big one for Shelly. She was just like the person whispering poison into the ear of power. And she very quickly develops a reputation for being one of the better players on the cast, despite her seeming lack of power otherwise, because she's definitely very persuasive and influential in some of the results of these things. Yeah.
And to Shelly's point, when the season was happening, at the beginning of the season, she was like, yeah, the newbies didn't necessarily know, oh, Shelly's like not on my side. I think as a TV watcher, she was very much on the vet side once she got in with Jeff and Jordan. Like that was like her home base. But she still maintained relationships, which I think is important. And at this moment or a future moment to come, oh my God, Shelly Moore pissed me off this season like no other, but we'll get there.
She got so much heat from all angles, let me tell you.
It was bad for her. It was, and I felt bad. But to be honest, as a player, a smart woman. Shelly was a smart woman because she knew to maintain relationships. She knew to egg on these relationships, but also she was getting clocked at this time or a little bit after this time. Then by only Danielle and Kalia. They always felt like, okay, Shelly, like she's always gonna go back. She's always like what is she doing? She's in between. But that's the role that Shelly had, and that's the role I think best suited her this season. I don't see her playing any other role other than the role she played and lasting as long as she did. To be honest,
she's probably the most. She's the villain. She's the villain of the season, because when she's working for Jeff and Jordan, she's being tolerated by the Jeff and Jordan fans.
You're right.
They're like, it's fine for now because she's not like working against them right now, but I don't like how shady she is. And they never really liked her in general. And so then for like the fans of the Resistance, the new players, they were like, she's a mole, she's a double agent, she's just simping for Jeff and Jordan. And then eventually she betrays Jeff and Jordan and gets the ire of just everyone. They turn on her hard. So all of this comes together and Lawan is evicted, and he does not come back with superpowers. Instead, he is forced to compete against the audience's choice, Brendan, to see which one of them will return to the game. And of course, it's going to be Brendan that wins that physical competition.
And it was no surprise. But also to note, the top two people that got the most votes were Dominic and Brendan, which were like, I was like, like just like the TV purposes, I was like, this is like a beautiful story.
I can't express enough how disappointed I was with the outcome of this week.
I see why. Like Dominic not coming back, it would have thrown a huge wrench into the plans of everyone. And also just putting them at top two was like insane. And then Julie saying by over 1 million votes. And I didn't even think at this time in Big Brother, I mean, I knew a lot of people, of course, a lot of people watched, but fan voting besides season 7. Well, they had fan voting in season 11 too. To who come back, right?
Yeah, they had lots of votes.
Yeah, fan voting was a thing. Over 1 million votes for Brendan to come back, and Rachel is like so giddy. And now Kalia and Danielle are pissed because now they realize we could have had Brendan and Rachel competing against each other, and at least one of them gone. And now we have both of them. Brendan came back in the game, pissed at us. Fire! Like, come on, you can't make this stuff up, Taran. You cannot make this thing like these things up.
Yeah, I was disappointed by the strategy. I was disappointed by the result. And then when it was like, like Dominic could come back and we picked Brendan. And then Brendan comes back and it's like the vets are completely refreshed and renewed and all 4 of them are still in the game again. And it's like, oh my God. Honestly, if Danielle hadn't won this following HOH, I don't know if I would have finished the season. I was pretty bummed.
Taran, it's so funny how we were on the opposite sides. I was so happy. And it's just so funny, just me knowing the type of person that I am now. 14-year-old Jacob I was like, oh my God, I wanted Brendan to come back so bad and I wanted them. And I remember when Brendan came back, they went into the right between the bathroom and the kitchen. What's that room? Like, what do they call that room? Like the meeting room or a hang room or whatever?
They call it different things depending on
so layout. A parlor or whatever. And it was the vets, so Brendan, Rachel, Jeff, Jordan, and then outwardly, because it was a moment, Portia was at the table, Brendan and Rachel were right there. Jordan said, come here. Adam went in there. Shelly went in there. So it was Shelly, Adam, Jeff, Jordan, Brendan, and Rachel. 6 people left Portia out to go hang with who? Danielle and Kalia. 6 plus 3 is what? 9? Are we at the final 9 yet? Yeah, this is the final 9. No?
After Lawan leaves, Brendan comes back and 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think final 9.
Dang. Yeah, final 9. Final 9. So I was happy. My little heart was happy at the time.
Yes. Well, as often happens with returning players, it's a revolving door. That Danielle is going to win the next HOH and just renominate the Brendan eventually. This time it's going to be a backdoor. And Adam and Shelly go up initially. Adam wins the veto. Brendan replaces him, and Brendan is voted out right after coming back in. But this is basically the spot where it would have been Rachel. I mean, it was almost Rachel the week before, but they had, maybe decided against it. But in this spot, it very likely would have been Rachel. But instead, Brendan is there to take the hit again.
Which I thought it made, you have to finish the job. Like, you just have to get them out of here. And even when Danielle won, and also just to know, because I just remembered this and I just rewatched it. When Danielle won both of her HOHs, she had the same jacket on because one was endurance and then one came down to a number that they had to write, and she threw the card when she won. This very sexily, like, and she had to just like finish the job that was set before her, even though Brendan and Rachel wanted to make a deal with Danielle, obviously to stay in the game, obviously to maintain safety. And Danielle was like, okay, what if I meet you in the middle? I will nominate Shelly and Adam. If one of them come down, obviously Brendan's going to go up. But also, if one of them stay up, I kind of have a deal to move forward with going into the next week. So she thought she was protected, but I don't think she ever thought that that relationship could have been remedied after the fact, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And you just see like the result of this, because the season has now been divided into two like equal segments. In the first segment, Rachel, Jordan, Rachel were the HOH winners, and they decimated the other side of the house. In the next 3 weeks, Danielle, Kalia, Danielle are the HOH winners, and they only managed to get Brendan out, and that's it. Like they and Lawan was a victim as well. Like it was just a significantly lopsided result based on some very poor decision making and a very bad for them twist, and it just did not allow for that side to gain any real momentum here.
And Taran, this week was I don't know. I feel like it was very pivotal in the game of Big Brother, not only because Brendan will be getting evicted, because I also believe that they had a competition of like a phone call from home this week, a POV competition. Adam won, took himself off. Brendan was on the block. Brendan left. And this moment, and I kind of miss these type of things in Big Brother, but even though I don't think they would hit the same, to be honest, like having like a phone call from home in the Big Brother house, as Shelly had with her husband and her son, would not hit the same as who was the person on last season? Angela having a conversation with her daughter. Like to be honest, even though Shelly and Angela at the time, I mean, I don't even want to think about women's ages, so let me just not even infiltrate that area. But you both have kids, you both are married. I still don't even feel like it would come across the same way. But Jordan had a power to give Shelly a phone call from home, and she gave it to Shelly, indicative of how close they were, and indicative of how much I
remember that being a big deal with the
yes, because you know what's going to happen after this. And so that moment happened, and Adam won the POV, and Jordan was in this cute little leotard. But just everyone listening for Taran, just have that in your mind. Jordan gave Shelly a phone call from home and was in a unitard for a week, and it was also one of the reasons why I was pissed at Miss Shelly Moore. But time heals all wounds.
Yes. So Brendan is evicted, and that brings us to one of the most infamous double evictions in the history of the show.
I don't know if I'm ready for this, Taran. This was intense. This was intense.
So the streak of Danielle and Kalia trading off HOHs finally ends when Jeff takes the next HOH, and he is going to take this opportunity to backdoor Danielle. He puts Kalia and Portia up as initial pawns. He wins the veto. He uses the veto to take down Portia, and just like that, Danielle and Kalia are on the block together. And this is going to be Danielle's time to go. And so this is like the height of my frustration with Jeff as a person and a player, because at this point, he is going to have his infamous Dumbledore rants in the HOH room. He is talking about this. This is the moment that a lot of people sort of like discovered, like some of the views and language that Jeff used, because this like a little bit of a precursor to how Big Brother 15 would come about, where like this kind of started to break through on social media, that he was talking about Harry Potter, and it was at the time like big news, like, hey, did you know Dumbledore was gay? And he seemed to take great offense to the idea that Dumbledore would be gay because he is a headmaster of a children's school. And he gets very heated in this conversation, and very heated. And Kalia is like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, don't even give me that with that PC nonsense. And he's like, you don't even believe that. And she's like, what are you talking about? I don't believe that. And so this breaks, and it's like now there's a real big disconnect between the Jeff fans who are watching the TV show and the people who are now like aware of this side of him, who are like really now anti-Jeff. And so he wins this HOH, and there's basically nothing that can stop him from backdooring Danielle, because he also wins the veto. And I'm just like, damn this guy. I thought I liked him.
Yeah. This was a hard week, especially with that comment. And then because I don't know if Danielle fully thought she regained Jeff and Jordan's trust, but I know that she because Danielle was the most recent person out of those three, Jeff, Jordan, and Danielle, to win power, and she didn't use it to put Jeff and Jordan in any real danger. And I think in Jeff and Jordan, when even they were talking to her, they said, we are people that stand on our word. You know this from us. And again, season 11, I guess you kind of have some type of Jeff and Jordan loyalty, American sweetheart. They wouldn't lie to me. And I think she has some glimmer of like, maybe we can work something out. He'll nominate Kalia and Portia. And hopefully that will be it. And I know one of my allies will likely be gone, but I will still be around, and we'll see what we do when we get there. But I think on Jeff's mind, he was always horny and hungry to get Danielle out the door. Yeah.
And he succeeds in doing so. Danielle is voted out, but a huge season for her. Without having to play with her dad this time, she really shines, becomes a massive fan favorite. And it really just goes to show how quickly you can turn the audience, because they weren't the biggest Danielle fans leading into this season. Danielle became a massive fan favorite, and then she came back again for BB22, and people fell off again a little bit.
Yeah, which was the sad part, because Big Brother 13 Danielle, and I really believe it's because she wasn't constrained to anybody or anything, and we saw her first at an age of 18, and then 18, 19, and then she came in here and she had her 25th birthday, and they say 25 or 26 is when that thing. Maybe for women, it does it a little bit sooner than it does for men. So I think men 26, women 25. And no, it worked for Joseph. And those things worked. And we saw her. And I think that was all a part of who we saw in Big Brother 13. And for a large part, she put herself in situations where she had to be bold. And I think it worked out for her in perception and her legacy up until we get to what we know as to be her most recent stint. But Danielle Donato played one hell of a game. And this was also the season that I was so amped up to see the jury segments. I was like, oh my God, Brendan and Danielle in the jury. I want to see what happens now.
Yeah. It's funny how many times we have said over the course of the last few weeks, like, oh yeah, and everyone loved this person until they came back for BB22.
Just do 2 stints and be out. Rachel came back 2 times. Jordan came back 2 times. Jeff came back 2 times. Let 2 times. Brendan came back. Let 2 times be it. For don't try to get a third one in. To be honest, you always never works out.
So Danielle is evicted, leading into the double eviction, where, wouldn't you know it, one more time, Kalia wins an HOH. And just like that, Jeff, who had orchestrated this backdoor blindside of Danielle, is going to immediately pay for it. He had been doing so well to this point by keeping people wanting to appease him and Jordan. But after the betrayal of Danielle, Kalia has no reason to hold back, and she wants revenge. She wants immediate revenge in this double eviction. She nominates him right up next to Rachel, and they go in to the double eviction veto, which is often now these days referred to as the clown shoe veto because of this competition.
Oh my gosh.
Because Jeff is theoretically primed to do really well at this. He's a really big physical guy. He's going to get back and forth really quickly. It's the competition where you run into a big pile of stuff, you look for your item, you run it back, and then you go back into the big pile and you find your item and you run it back. And in this case, the items were clown shoes. And so Jeff, he's out there, he's going fast, and I believe at one point he's in the lead.
Oh yes, he is, Karen.
And it's looking like he's going to be able to save himself, survive this week. And if he survives this week, I mean, who is there to stop him? Very few people are going to be targeting Jeff at this point. And quite frankly, it's going to be tough to get him voted out, even if he doesn't win this veto. But this veto would guarantee his safety and would allow him to basically continue to steamroll the rest of the season. And as he's competing, he's going fast, and he's tossing those he's tossing the balls out of the pit, and he's tossing stuff, and he's looking, and he just can't find the last clown shoe. Where is it? He's digging through this thing like he's Boston Rob on The Amazing Race, and he's looking through, and he's like, where is this clown shoe? And as he's looking, Portia's catching up. And then out of nowhere, as he continues to look, Portia wins, and just like that, Jeff is stuck on the block. And it's not until after that he realizes, oh no, I'd thrown the clown shoe out of the pit. It's sitting there on the ground next to me when I was throwing the balls. I'm too strong. I knocked it out.
Terry, you're so stupid.
And he is pissed.
Yeah.
He's so mad because this game has just gone right for Jeff all season long. I told you, he has been a force on this season. He has been strategically dominant in a way he never came close to in his original season. And he just needs to survive this bad double eviction outcome. And he was in the lead, about to win this veto, but he overcooked himself. He knocked the clown shoe out of the pit, and he's now stuck on the block. But that's not the end of his game, because there's not a lot of votes left in the game. Danielle and Brendan are out, which means we're down to the final 7, which means there's only 4 votes to go into play here. And he is up on the block next to Rachel. So as long as he has Jordan, obviously, then he also has Adam, who is locked in with Jeff and Jordan.
Loves him.
He does not have Portia at this point.
Rachel has Portia.
Rachel has pulled Portia, but Jeff has always just had more agency here. Now remember, Jeff nominated Portia as a pawn the week before. Yeah. Which is part of what happened. Like, Jeff really, he took his strike at the start of this week when he won that HOH and veto. He decided to burn the bridges and go for it and make his move. And he immediately pays for it. He does not have Portia's vote, but Shelly is the 4th vote.
Taran, please.
And she's been up the butts of Jeff and Jordan all season long. As you said, Jacob, she had just been given a phone call
I gave you a phone call that I wanted to talk to my family. We'll get there. But yeah, Taran, it was like, and you know, in alliances, we can kind of see the moment that it happens when one alliance member turns on the other. This was night and day, and eviction to eviction, and support and non-support. It came strikingly. And I was like, also to note, Jeff, in his nomination speech to Portia, said, Portia, we probably talked for a maximum of a minute in this entire house. I want you to prove to me that you deserve to stay. So, Portia, go ahead and vote him out. But
just quickly, I forgot to mention in week 1 when they nominated Portia and Keith with the intent to we'll give Portia, they didn't tell, they like nominated Portia. She was blindsided. She goes and cries to them, and they're like, no, we're doing you a favor. And of course, she buys it that they're doing her a favor. But like, they didn't even communicate that to her beforehand.
Yeah, Portia was always like, all right, Portia. And that's how Jeff kind of treated her. And that's why if anyone is listening that's going to want us to play one of these games, really try to view everyone as an equal asset. Because if it comes down to a vote is like life or death in this game. And you never know when you can need someone. And also view everyone as playing the game. Because like, you're just like, I can't count anyone out. And Jeff counted her out and he paid the price. I hated to see it. The downfall of Shelly Moore to Jeff and Jordan's fan base, to my heart, to the entire Big Brother world was like, yeah, Shelly. Oh my God, Shelly, I'm sorry to you, Mama. I'm sorry to you for the hate and the visceral that you had to face during this season.
Shelly proves all of her haters wrong, and she turns on Jeff and Jordan. This was the time to strike. She recognizes that if she doesn't strike now, Jeff and Jordan will run away with this season, and they probably would have. It was not an optimal time to turn, but it was the only chance. It was the only opportunity that seemed to present itself. And so Shelly votes Jeff out, and that means it's a tie between Jeff and Rachel. And Kalia stands up there and she breaks the tie and she evicts Jeff, who shouldn't have gone after Danielle.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, even at that time, do you think he shouldn't have, or
no? I think in the mind of Kalia, it was like, you shouldn't have done that.
Oh yeah.
But
it was literally the only, unless Kalia, you wanted to go home. It was like which, but I mean, Kalia was like, "Yo, you sent home my closest ally. You put me on the block. Let's do you dirty now." And Taran, when Jeff got evicted, went out to sit with Julie in a tank top and shorts. Kind of how he was dressed up the first eviction, I believe, when he got evicted in season 11. I'm not too sure, but this he came from the gym, and the fight that happened after this moment between Shelly and Jordan, who is like cussing, yelling, being like, Shelly, I gave up a phone call that I wanted to talk to my family. And I remember Rachel's voice being like, Jordan, stop. Jordan, no. Holding Jordan back. My heart was like on the floor, Taran. It was on the floor.
Yeah, Jeff is pissed. He's talking to Julie, he's saying he's never gonna forget that clown shoe. It's gonna haunt him forever. And you can tell. You can always tell when somebody gets evicted and they really thought the game was theirs, and that was Jeff. And in this instance, unlike some people later like Frank or Shane, he was kind of right. He was his game to lose, and he lost it right there. And Jacob, there was a ton of heat for Shelly, as you mentioned, in the house, and there was even more of it outside of the house. The amount of hate that the audience had for Shelly, I couldn't remember a time since like Big Brother 6 that there was such vitriol. Because people hated Natalie from season 11, and there were various people that were hated along the way. But that was like a casual hate. This was like a full-time job. I want to ruin her life in every way possible, and she got a ton of it.
And this is just Shelly is just a girl that's married with a daughter in Baton Rouge or Louisiana. Go Tigers! Like she doesn't count. Like what? But like she wanted to play the move, and it's. Do I feel bad? Did I feel bad for her in the moment? I was too caught up in my pissed offness. Now Shelly has a 28-year-old person versus a 14-year-old person, where that even sounds insane, Taran. That sounds insane. That lineage of right there, the mental leaps that you take. Shelly, I feel bad for you. But also, no, I feel bad. I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, I feel bad. She got ooh, people did not like her. People did not like her.
Yeah. And then we come to probably, you know, the whole Lawan superpowers, Brendan comes back thing was definitely like we talked about. It was a little bit of a coup d'etat moment, a little bit of a coup de Jeff moment. But this is the even bigger moment that
I
people
know
will often take a look at season 13. This moment is so egregious. It's often cited as probably the most egregious moment in the history of production influence. And for a lot of people, just tarnishes the entire season because Shelley is evicted, but it was not on purpose here. She makes a move, and it basically would have paid off. Portia wins the next HOH, and Shelley manages to get in Portia's ear and convince her Jordan and Rachel need to go up on the block together. Like Shelley has pulled this off. She's sniped Jeff out of the game, and now Portia wins this HOH, and she's primed to take out Rachel. She's primed to remove Rachel or Jordan from the game and really just be in this very, very good position. Is she going to win the game? Is she going to win a jury vote at this point? Who knows? You know, her competition ability wasn't very good either. So, like, was she ever really in a position to win?
No,
hard to say. But she's really, like, the move has paid off. Jordan and Rachel go up on the block together. One of them is guaranteed to go home until.
No, Taran. And before you even say that, I want to. Taran hated it. I loved it. Obviously, you know who I was rooting for. And so this twist, that's a. I'm giving it too much credit with calling it a twist. This complete, like, let's give them a safety net to come back next week of Jeff and Jordan. Was it a Pandora's box, or was it that unleashed?
It was a Pandora's box.
Yeah. Okay, Pandora. Remember those?
Yeah. So what happens is there's a Pandora's box situation, and it has been pretty well documented that Portia has basically been on the record saying she did not want to open Pandora's box, but was basically forced to by production in order to make it look like this was their fault or her fault. So with interference, influence by production, Portia opens Pandora's box, and wouldn't you know it, it introduces a twist that the dynamic duos twist is going to come back into play just for 1 week. And what that means is that Rachel and Jordan will be competing in this veto, not even as a duo, just if any one of them wins, both of them will be able to be safe and come off the block.
It was crazy.
Which on its face is pretty wild, especially given the interference forcing Portia to take the Pandora's box in the first place. But it gets worse because for pretty much the first and only time in Big Brother history, the veto competition that they're playing is a repeat.
I know. Oh, I know. So the one she won.
A repeat of a competition that Rachel has already won previously on the same season.
The banana versus the dummy. Oh God, just hanging and strapping your legs around and hanging. Wow, Taran, I didn't even register to me.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, no. And Taran, you know what's so funny? In the moment, to be honest, I mean, social media wasn't a thing, so I was just watching it as things were coming on my TV and Afterlife and things like that. So I necessarily didn't get the interference, but of course, after the fact, in like a year or two later, I definitely saw. Okay, but that was now seeing it. 14 to 28. What's that? 14 years? Is that 14 years since Big Brother?
2011. So yeah, 14 years.
14 years. It's definitely they wanted. They know what they were doing, and I feel bad for Portia and Kalia because. Y'all wanted to make a decision. Y'all wanted to get people up. Y'all were playing by the same rules that y'all were playing with the week prior. None of this stuff would happen. So,
yeah. So, because Rachel wins this very unique veto competition and very unique twist and situation, they both come off the block, which all but forces Portia to nominate Shelly up next to Adam, because she literally has to nominate 2 of the 3 remaining players. She does not nominate Kalia here.
But Kalia is also in Portia's duo. So because Portia and Kalia are
right.
a duo.
No, sorry, you're right.
Yeah, Portia and Kalia are a duo.
Literally
Shelly
is
and
forced
Adam.
to nominate.
It's like the final whatever. It's like the final. It's like the final 4 when it only comes down to the veto. It was so strange. And so having Jeff and Jordan, having Rachel and Jordan win, only forced her hand. Well, damn. I'm sorry, Shelly.
And like I think the perspective at the time that I remember seeing was like, production is about as pissed at what happened to Jeff as the audience is, and they have contrived a scenario to get revenge on Shelly because Shelly was doing too well, and they really wanted her to pay, and they really wanted Rachel and Jordan to survive. They could not have Shelly win the day. And so they literally forced a scenario to the best of their ability to eliminate Shelly from the game, up next to Adam on the blue. Nobody's going to evict Adam.
Yeah.
And
he already had 2 votes, Rachel and Jordan. Like, and Kalia was the only other person that can vote. But I'm like, it was horrible for them. Like that was damn production.
Yeah,
I was happy.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And so all of this happens, and Shelly ends up being evicted in a spot where she basically was never going to be evicted otherwise. Like literally would never have happened if not for this exact specific twist that was forced upon them at the final.
Because if Jeff and Rachel are on the block, one of them runs vetoes, Adam goes up. Like Shelly was saved. And Shelly Moore, it just had to happen to you. You just made the wrong decision in the wrong season to the wrong person. I'm sorry, Shelly.
Shelly's certainly known for being twist screwed, but like I feel like because so much of the audience was kind of happy about it because they didn't like Shelly, you don't often think of Shelly as probably one of the most twist screwed players in the history of the show. You think much more of Jessie, than you do of Shelly, but she really, really took the brunt of it here.
I kind of leave Jessie out of the conversation too sometimes.
So then of course the debate is, if not for this twist, because the thing is, it's twofold. It's the twist and the competition, because you can say without the twist, Rachel might still win that veto, but then Jordan is leaving. And without Jordan there as a buffer, then Rachel likely leaves at the final 4 because Jordan ends up being evicted over Rachel there. But you do have to also consider the fact that like the competition is maybe even the more egregious part. They knew who was going to win that competition.
Yeah. And it was like, and I remember somebody made a comment, oh my gosh, like I think maybe it was Rachel herself, I get to hang on Brendan all day, like because they had faces of their partners that were their partners when they were doing it. And so, but Taran, it's so funny because I just never thought of the banana on the first HOH competition, and it is the same exact competition, like wrapping legs, wrapping hands, and holding and enduring. It's a waiting game, and like it was a shitty thing for production to do for the sake of the game or the honor of the game. But
hey, so what ends up happening is that Rachel wins the following HOH, and this is finally going to be it for Kalia. She nominates Kalia and Portia. Adam wins a veto here, and that seals the deal against Kalia. It is a tie vote. Adam tries to, Jordan tries to vote out Portia, but Rachel prefers Kalia out.
Yeah, I liked Kalia though, and I think even though she made a flubber of a move when she got power, I liked her character and I liked her gameplay. To be honest, outside of that, I think she was a She did good. I think she did good this season with everything kind of facing her.
Yeah, I mean, you know, she wins like some very crucial HOHs. She just doesn't do great things with the first one, but then she does well with the second one. Um, and the fact that it's like not her that gets the fallout from that is pretty big. Granted, it would have been difficult, but like you know, she really was in a good spot, and if she had made it to the end, I think she has a good chance to win. And she's good at these competitions. You know, and she was looking to get there with Adam or Portia. I think she for sure wins against either one of them.
And she was the first person to, like, I remember her intro video was like, I am the real Carrie. What was on Sex in the City? I have the gift of gab. And that was the first time I've heard the gift of gab. And I think Kalia oftentimes is remembered as a person that like slept a lot. Is like what I remember during the time of this season, they would say, oh, Kalia, all she did was sleep. But I think she stood up to the vets. She was involved in the drama. She won competitions. Wasn't too shabby. And I think if like from the middle, would you consider this era the middle era of Big Brother's like
at this point? Yeah, I'd say we're still in like that middle era.
Yeah, I would have definitely loved to see Kalia in something else. What?
Kalia, I think, is one of the players that's like way too successful to ever do like reality television.
I think she's like a writer or something for a TV show or something.
I remember she at one point was working for like HBO. I think I remember reading. I don't know if that's still the case. But like, yeah, she's just like a very smart person who has like an actual career in the entertainment industry. So that was Kalia. Of course, we then get to the final four, where Adam wins the HOH and Portia wins the veto. And Jordan is the person they evict here. So, you know, part of the idea here is that like Jordan is a much bigger jury threat than Rachel is. Like just straight up, like Rachel. It's easy to say now that like, you know, of course Rachel, she dominated the season to some degree. Like why wouldn't she win a jury vote? But like the idea of Rachel winning a jury vote was pretty out there. Like Rachel from season 12 would be a jury threat. No, Jordan Lloyd, who the last time she was in this position won the final 3 HOH and then crushed a jury vote, obviously is the bigger threat. But in this instance, you know, Portia felt like, you know, if Rachel is willing to bring me to the final 2, and I have a great chance of beating Rachel in the final 2, then I'd rather take my shot at like playing the final 3 HOH with Rachel there than risk losing the final 3 HOH to Jordan, who just auto beats everyone. So that's, I think, part of the logic behind this decision.
And at this time as well, even though Rachel probably did more in the game where people now are like, oh, people should have voted on Just Game. Rachel also got into a lot of just like, from what I perceive, like catty arguments with people, and how even Danielle, who's in jury, Kalia, who's going to jury, Shelly, like I think those people, even as a winning comps and surviving as Rachel did do, I don't think that she could have won those votes in a lot of regards. So just what different people viewed as what's important and who they were willing to give $500,000 to.
So that's it for Jordan. Of course, her performance here, I would say, more impressive than her performance in season 11, the one that she won.
Oh, you think so?
Generally. Yeah, I think that both her and Jeff improved as players. I mean, it's easy. It's very easy to improve as players when you're like vets competing against new players. But like, her head was definitely a lot more in the game, I would say, in this season. She had a lot more influence and control. And I think this is where a lot of like her reputation is like, well, she's probably going to make it pretty far most times, comes from. I still don't necessarily agree with that assertion, especially nowadays, especially given that one of her seasons is one of these mixed seasons in this particular setup. But like, you know, she definitely came kind of close to winning a second season. Probably you know, for, you know, you often look at it as like her, Dan, and Will were all like the three people that came the closest to winning twice.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah.
Because Will left Final Four, right? And Dan got Final Two. Jordan got. I mean, to be honest, you're right. I do think she improved, but also they also played from this season from a different vantage point. Jeff and Jordan both played from season 11 at a more underdog, like, yo, we're trying to work our way up. Our alliance members are flopping. Like something can help us, even though a twist came in and saved the day. They kind of, for the most part, had a sense of authority in this house, where last season they really didn't. So I think that they probably play best with having some authority in the house. I mean,
I said before, it can be understated how much of a powerhouse Jeff and Jordan were in the house, but like it also can't be understated how much of that was due to their reputation and the fandom behind them. They had superstardom in the Big Brother world. Everyone wanted to work with them, and that got them a long way. And again, the other thing you have to note about Jordan is that like it's not just her win that was largely aided by a twist, but it was also this fourth place performance also significantly aided by some of these twists. So, you know, that's definitely something to account for as well.
She looked, I remember her eviction. I was like, oh my gosh, Jordan looks stunning. And I don't remember exactly what she was wearing, but if whoever listened to this, if y'all want to go back to Jordan's eviction on season 13, I think you will have the same reaction as I did at the moment. I don't even remember what she had on, but I just remember, oh my gosh, she looked the best I've ever, like Jordan looked impeccable when she left the Big Brother. Her makeup, hair, dress, everything was 10 out of 10. So go have yourself a nice day and go look at Jordan Lloyd being beautiful if you choose to.
So we get to the final three, and of course we know Rachel wins the final three HOH and evicts Adam to take Portia to the final two. We haven't talked a ton about Adam. Adam, not one of the more popular players on the season. He was dunked. He was more like the Natalie of the season. Natalie from season 11 that we talked about was pretty hated. Wasn't quite as hated as Natalie was, I would say, by any means, but was you know, certainly not like hated with the fervor that people hated Shelley for. But they just generally didn't seem to like him very much. They got very fed up with a couple of his things because Adam was a guy who had some things. He was a guy.
Can I guess one of them before you say it?
Sure.
Okay. Did he yell in the DR?
Probably, but that
wasn't the reason. Okay, wait. Tell me the reasons why you got to say.
So this might strike if you were like alive at the time and and like aware of sort of like nerd culture, maybe. He was a big bacon guy.
Bacon. Yeah.
Big bacon guy. It was like his whole personality. Is what it
and
felt
Tori
like.
Spelling.
And the other thing is Tori Spelling. So he would always talk. I love bacon. I love bacon so much. And listen, I don't have a problem with him being a bacon guy, but the issue is that when you're on the live feeds, people that watch the live feeds, they really love to hate the things that you do a lot. And he talked about bacon a lot, and he talked about Tori Spelling a lot. And honestly, if I'm being honest to this day, I still don't know who Tori Spelling is. But
Taran, please.
He really, I know Tori Spelling via Adam Pock.
That's funny. You know she came in this season, right?
I remember. I still don't remember what she's famous for.
She had a reality show. Well, she was on 90210.
90210.
Yeah. But she also had a reality show once she was like an adult and had children called Tori and Dean Take Hollywood. I think it was like on E! or Lifetime that I was obsessed with. And her mother, she comes from a rich family. The Spelling name is very prestigious in Hollywood. That's Tori Spelling. But I've never seen her in anything of her work. I've just seen her with her husband and kids.
Here's the latest from Tori Spelling. Tori Spelling reveals she never drinks water and instead opts for soda and wine.
Yeah, that's not a surprise. That's not a surprise.
Anyway, those were, I think, the two primary things. But in addition to that, people did not like how he played the game, because he basically was just like on the team of working with Jeff and Jordan for so long. They did not believe that he was ever going to turn on them in the way that Shelley did. He was always talking about like making a move. He was like very like Enzo in that way. If you remember Enzo from season 22, always talking about making a move. When's the time to make the move? And he was a fan of the show too. So like he knew that he should be doing stuff, and he talked like he was doing stuff, and that really frustrated an audience that were very frustrated with his gameplay and how they felt like his gameplay enabled a lot of the events of the season. I never personally had a huge issue with Adam. I like there were much worse things going on that season and other seasons than Adam talking about bacon and Tori Spelling. And he remained active in the community for a while afterward as well.
Still active. He goes to the events in New York. I saw him. I feel like a couple like Survivor events. I seen him twice. And one time I was talking to him, and I was like, "How did I end up? Where was I standing in this place to end up talking to Adam just like that?" But no, he's still around.
But yes, couldn't unfortunately even get to that second place money here for Adam.
Also, can I say this? He was also a guy that talked a lot about like, oh, if I'm gonna win, like, oh, if I would have made it to that final 2 seats, it would have been mine. And the fan of being like, okay, shut up, boy. And next, like he gave off that type of energy.
Yeah. So that brings us to our final two, and it's a close one. It's a very close one. Portia versus Rachel. To this day, there are a lot of Portia defenders here. And I think there's definitely a case to be made as a new player. The fact she's like, the thing is, she did eventually wake up. But she did for most of the season play for the vets.
Yeah, it was. I feel like she woke up when Brendan came back the second time. When he came back, that's when like she was fully on the side of Danielle and Kalia, because I remember Kalia and Danielle being like, "Do you trust Portia? Come to the dark side." And that's when Portia, it's the new Portia that we see. It was kind of like the first half of the season, a different Portia than the end of the season, which I guess that's the transformation of life, the circle of life, as some might say.
And then, of course, again, you have to talk about the massive twists that she was involved with that completely screwed her over. And so there are a lot of Portia defenders. I will say at this point, I could have gone either way. I was rooting against Rachel and Brendan like all season long, but by the end, even after like all the shenanigans, I was just like, I mean,
give it to her. Yeah.
You got to give it to her.
Yeah. I thought it was a full circle moment, Taran. I was like, even though Portia I can't even lie to you. Even when the game was happening, I was like, I don't want Portia to win. I don't want Portia to win. But now looking back, Portia, like, she played a game that it's an argument for her to win, especially with everything that takes place, especially how Rachel got into confrontation with the people in the jury house. It's a state to claim. But Shelley was the jury vote that no one saw coming.
Once again, down to Shelley. And there's a case to be made. So this is how it goes. It's a 4-3 vote. The vets all vote for Rachel. Jordan, Jeff, and Brendan all vote for Rachel. And the new players all vote for Portia. Adam, Kalia.
Which was a surprise. Adam was a surprise because Adam promised Rachel.
Because I forgot about Danielle. But yes. Danielle too. Danielle, a vet, votes for Portia. Adam, as you mentioned, votes for Portia here after being cut by Rachel. And Kalia votes for Portia. So it's 3-3. And the swing vote is Shelley, who really, by all accounts, should be a vote for Portia.
Yes.
And I do not recall. I was not super deep in on the let me see Shelley defend herself against all the crimes she committed in the Big Brother house. But you have to imagine that Shelley has now lived in this jury house with both Jeff and Jordan for the last couple of weeks. And she's been getting reamed out by them. And she had been a massive fan of them and wanted to go to their Thanksgivings, you know, like she wanted to be friends with them, and she ended up betraying them for the game, but still really loved them. Shelly's always been a good game player. Like, you have to imagine that part of this vote is just to sort of appease Jeff and Jordan to be like, I'm sorry, here, I'll vote for your girl.
Yeah.
That's how I remember some people feeling about it.
I mean, to be honest, I think the way that those people were thinking is pretty accurate, because it's really, Portia was the last person that Shelly was working with. And even though it was a moment that her and Shelly got into it, Portia and Shelly, because Kalia was telling Portia that they can't trust Shelly. Shelly overheard them in the next room, was like, you shouldn't be talking about people like that. And so maybe it was a riff in between that part, and maybe she just saw like, oh, Rachel won a whole bunch of competitions, even though Rachel talked to people like horribly. And I feel like even that was some of her sentiment at the round table that season as well. But I feel like she did get shut down by a Jeff, by a Jordan, by a Brendan. And it's not like Kalia and Danielle are going to really have Shelly's back to the 10th degree. But yeah, I'm happy she made the decision that she made, to be honest.
And that decision that Rachel Riley is the winner of Big Brother 13. Yeah. Yeah. And so here's the thing. I don't love this season. There's definitely good parts of it. It just like the process of watching it wasn't super fun for me. It was kind of like it was just one of those seasons where you're just like, at every step, from my perspective, was just like failure after failure, and just, like injustice after injustice from production. But none of that's Rachel's fault.
none of it's Rachel's fault. None of it's Rachel just like dealt the hands that she was given and succeeded in those hands. So like, and Taran, I know this was a very pivotal season for my Big Brother indulgement into the world. But also I still believe that, like, even by recapping this, I was so excited numerous times while we were talking about this, because it just unlocked different things in my brain of me sitting at home at 14 years old, like just being like, oh my gosh, this is still one of my favorite seasons. And this was the era of Big Brother that I think the people on the cast were like the people who I like. Season 13, season 14. Season 14 is my Terry. Season 4, the next season after this, is my number 1 or 2 seasons, but this falls right under that. Like season 13 and 14 for me, Terry. And I don't get how you can say. I get how you can say it now, going through everything back again. But it had drama. It had competitions. It had one side winning, another side winning, another side winning. It had the dual thing. It had like emotional pull that I don't feel like. And I'm not even gonna compare it to modern day Big Brother. This was an era, and I appreciate Big Brother for giving it to me. It enhanced my life. At a 14-year-old, it made me to be the man I am right now.
I would say, especially like going back and remembering a lot of this, like I genuinely think that, and this isn't just like, oh well, this sucked, so if you just take this away, but I genuinely think that the Pandora's box, if that hadn't happened, I think that this season is remembered way more fondly. I think that like that is really the sticking point for a lot of people. Not even like the fairness people all the time either, but like this season also just got way more boring after that. Like the end game just kind of sucked after that. Like the storyline to that point was so interesting, and the journey of these new players and like what would have happened if they'd been able to get out Rachel or Jordan there. That end game would have been so much more interesting. We would have had like a winner who was probably, you know, like Kalia or maybe Shelly, like, or maybe Portia pulls it out. And like, I feel like that this season gets remembered very, very differently if that happens. Now, you know, having come to know Rachel and love Rachel, I'm very glad she won as like a person. But I do think that this season is held back by that moment, by that decision, by theoretical decision by production, and because you're right. There is like to that up until that point, it really did have a lot going for it.
Yeah.
And it's just like the storylines just kind of crash at that point. But if you're if that, you know, if you're able to sort of like get past that bit, like I do think there's a lot to like about the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, this season is still excites me, to be honest. Like when I see the moments, we got prime Danielle, we got a Rachel Riley win, which is Rachel is like a pillar in the Big Brother player world. We got Jeff and Jordan coming back for their last. I mean, I know how people feel about them now. We had Brendan and Rachel coming back for their last time. We had Dick and Danielle coming back. Yeah, the newbies aren't necessarily the most memorable newbies that we've had, but we also got a love connection from Danielle and Dominic there that I love. I like Dominic during the season, and so it was like very fun to see. I don't know, this season is just very near and dear to my heart. I like the action, I like the drama. People, you know, people shit on Rachel Riley's gameplay. To be honest, I mean, at that time, I wasn't viewing gameplay how I'm viewing it now. I loved it. I loved everything about Rachel Riley. Taran, I was like, I was like this, how Shelly was like Jeff. I was like this to the Veterans Alliance. And this season, just for me, this season in season 14 for me had everything I needed. Everything I needed. But also, I'm a guy that's just coming off of the cuff of on Corky Dude, rewatching all from, you know, I went back all these seasons. So this is like fresh in my mind after I saw season 12. So me seeing Jeff and Jordan, me seeing Brendan and Rachel, me seeing Dick and Danielle. And then next season, me seeing Brittany, me seeing my big brother, Dan Giesling, me seeing Mike Boogie at the time, me seeing Janelle, like this was like my heart. It was like, I love it. You made me very happy today, Taran. Like I did not know that this podcast and talking about a show that when I was 14 would make me as happy as I am now. This has made me extremely happy.
Oh, well, I'm glad, Jacob.
Yeah.
Well, we should talk about who should be on the poster for this season.
Who should be on? Okay. What do you want my thoughts?
I want your thoughts.
I think there are 3 people that should be on. Of course, Rachel Riley, not only because she won a comp threat, started the drama, and also was an active player week to week. The next person that I say should be on is Danielle Donato. We got everyone's favorite Danielle. She changed the game, changed the dynamics of the game, and everyone was rooting for her at some point. And even her, when she got evicted, Taran, I don't even know why I still remember this. She had a tan dress on. And for me, she gave one of the best eviction speeches. It wasn't in a way to get people to vote for her to stay. It was like, I just want to thank everyone at CBS and Big Brother for having me a chance to be on here. And it was just like a very like beautiful, and I forget one thing she said that I still say now, but I can't remember it. Her eviction speech, people go back and watch it. And then the third person to round out the list, Taran, I just have to say it, Jeff Schroeder. He was a pivotal part in this season. The biggest blind side, a double eviction that I still remember, and Jeff and Jordan, a pillar to win this game, and then had an insane career with CBS afterwards. Rachel, Danielle, Jeff.
All right. You also reminded me that this is, especially with Danielle, this is peak shocker.
Or awkward. It was shocker and awkward, Taran. It was shocker and awkward. Shocker. Yeah.
Let me throw in a couple more names.
Okay.
I think Kalia should be in contention.
Okay.
And I think that Shelly should be in contention.
Okay.
I think as the sort of like peak new players, I think those two should be in the conversation.
As peak new players. You're right. All I said was returnees. And to be honest, we said at the beginning of this, the returnees overshadowed the newbies. And so it's kind of like going to be, even though they play pivotal parts in this game, do you think that they beat out the people that I said though? Like impact to this game. Well, Shelly's impact to this game was, whether you love it or you hate it, it was impact.
Part of the classic double eviction, but Shelly was the cause of it.
Yeah, she was. I wouldn't be mad at that. I think somewhere that all comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this is a tough one. I think there's a few different paths you can take. I do think like maybe the argument against Kalia is that it's hard to have both Danielle and Kalia. If you just take one representative of that sort of duo. But yeah, I mean, I think there's options. We'll see what the audience thinks.
Let's see. I'm gonna be watching. Are you gonna put it on at the beginning? Because y'all be recording for a long time, so I don't know if I can watch the whole 2 hours. But you can put it on the beginning of next podcast. All right, perfect. I will watch. I will watch. But season 14 is my favorite season of all time, so I very well will be watching. Never mind. I very well will be watching.
One. Let's be real. All right. Well, Jacob Jones, we've done it. We've talked through season 13. Anything else about the season?
No, I mean, I love this season. It holds a special place in my heart. It's my first stepping stone into the Big Brother world. We're watching it live on television and keeping up with it even outside of that with the live feeds. It was my first time watching people on like camera, like when they like were just living life. And I was so enthused by that. And it made me, season 13 made me fall in love with Big Brother. At the time, I used to decorate my house when season premieres came. And my mom would be like, what are you doing? I would have like light sticks and just like stupid stuff around the house when Big Brother premiere was happening. And so, to be honest, a great season, in my opinion. It had everything I wanted at that time for reality television and a competition show, even though the later half was a bit, I just think it had my heart. It had my heart. It had my heart going up, going down, stressed out. Like it did a lot for me. And so for me, great season, a top tier season, in my opinion, and a season that, hey, I may do a rewatch on tomorrow.
It is so interesting for me. I've talked a little bit about like, Rachel, and just sort of like how the season itself hasn't really changed in my mind in terms of like how much I like enjoyed watching it, but like Rachel as a winner, as a player, she's like one of my favorite Big Brother contestants. I love her now. I think that she's so good, and part of that is like how she's continued to like develop as a person and as a character, like beyond Big Brother.
Yeah.
I really want to see Rachel come back and play again. I think that has to happen.
Well, you do?
Yeah.
Huh. I think it would be cool, Taran, but you know what? I'm such a stickler, not just saying this for Rachel. I'm such a stickler with this. And maybe you saying that is going to open me up. Whenever we bring, Danielle Reyes just put on like a very entertaining performance on The Traitor season 3. So like what I'm about to say is like going to be stifled by that. But I'm like, oh my God, these people were good when they were on, but now bringing them back years later, sometimes I'm not as enthused. Like, when it's like, okay.
I think Rachel is at her peak though. When she was on The Traitors,
she was good. She was good.
She was still like get into fights, Rachel.
Yeah.
But with even more like awareness of like this is still all a game.
You're right.
I'm very curious to see how like modern Rachel approaches Big Brother. I'd be very interested.
You know who I always wanted to see play alone was Brendan. I always wanted to see him play like by himself.
Did in season 12.
Yeah, he kind of
didn't work too well.
Didn't work too well at all. But I mean, I just think his physique and who I think it overshadows what the potential could be based off of the threat level. But yeah, I can be with that.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you with Big Brother 13. I'll be back next week to talk about Big Brother 14. I'll try to not make it too long because but man, that's we are now approaching like the seasons where I really remember a lot more.
Yeah. Wait, Tanner, can I also, before you talk about it, can I give, just as a fun little thing, can I give my thought process on the next winners as well for season 14? My select for the poster. Obviously, Dan Giesling. Oh, well, it's easy. This one is easy.
It's pretty easy.
Dan, Ian, Frank. Even though I think 4th and 5th place I think Danielle Murphy should be in 4th or 5th place in that round, to be honest. But Danielle gave it to her because I don't
I
like
think
her.
Danielle and Brittany both have a good
Yep,
argument.
I was gonna say Danielle and Brittany, 4th and 5th place to that final 3. Oh, Brittany
Yeah.
was so good. Oh, I loved watching Brittany play season 14. Oh my gosh. Taran, you just got me excited again because this is when I was young, fresh, and excited for like Big Brother. Like this was when I was like eating this up. Like this was everything to me. I remember watching even whenever they went to Vegas after the seasons and like they did the interviews. I was watching those on YouTube and like looking at the live streams, and this is when Big Brother took over my life, to be honest. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then. Tune in next week for Big Brother 14. In the meantime, you can find me over on Twitch and YouTube. I've been talking a bit about some other shows here or there. I just checked out this new Netflix show that's supposed to be like The Traitors, called $1 Million Secret. That I actually thought was pretty fun. But find me over there. Check out all the other stuff we got going on. We know scripted TV, talking tastemakers, talking Wheel of Time. We got shows coming up too that are gonna be fun. And all kinds of good stuff. Jet lag. We're talking about jet lag this season, so check out our jet lag coverage. Jacob Jones, what are you up to these days?
I am making music. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, even though I don't tweet, but I post some stuff. But under I guess it's like my music alias. Even though Jacob Jones is an insane name.
That's a very good name. Yeah,
it's a very good name. So who knows? Maybe in some time I'll rebrand. But you can find me on Instagram, HEIR.sound, or anywhere you listen to music. If you want some nice tunes while you go about life. Yeah.
All right, check it out. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.